All right, the Irish had a general election this weekend. It took a long time to tabulate the results. They have a special system called SVT where you put the candidates in order of which one you like the best from which one you like the least, and it takes a long time to tabulate. But the results are in, and there might be a bombshell because the 100-year reign of Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil could come to an end, and Ireland could have its first very left-wing government, although I'm not so sure that's actually going to happen. So first, let me go to the whiteboard. So at the top here, we got Sinn Fein at 24.5%. Now, last election, they got 13.8%. 13.8% was considered a huge breakthrough for them. Now, the current version of Sinn Fein was founded in 1970. Their background is members of the original Sinn Fein, hardcore Marxists, the Irish Republican Army, etc. For decades, they remained a teeny tiny pariah party that was generally hated by a large portion of the population. Now, they have always gotten votes in Northern Ireland as a protest party, but that's kind of a whole different story. I'm not going to get into that whole thing. Now, the old duopoly is Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, and they got 22.5 and 20.9. Both of them were down, and they no longer command a majority. Now, both of these parties at one time could have been called center-right. Now they're basically establishment globalist parties that have gone way to the left. Fianna Fáil, back in the 80s, 90s, and even into the 2000s, used to always be part of nationalist and Eurosceptic groups in the European Parliament. Now they're part of Renew Europe, which is the big tent centrist group, which is very pro-EU, pro-globalist. Now you have a big chunk of independents. There's 160 seats. 20 of them went to independents. Technically 19, but I counted this Peter Tobin guy as number 20 because he's basically a wild card. To make it easier to understand, basically there's 20 independents, and then there's the Green Party plus 4 other left-wing parties. Well, there's 160 seats. The election chooses 159. There's a special process to choose a speaker who becomes member 160. Now, Sinn Fein says that they are going to try to form a ruling coalition, and they're going to need the support of 80 people in the assembly. So the first thing they need to do is win over the Green Party, and the Green Party is already making a bunch of demands. And then if they win over the Green Party, they got to get all these other radical Marxist parties to join in. And if they can get all of these guys, they still need 14 of the 20 independents. Now, these independents span the whole spectrum. They're all over the map. I'll get to the independents in a second. The odds are still, as far as I can tell, for the Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael duopoly, because they got 73 seats. They only need to win over 7 of the independents, and they hit the 80-seat mark. So it remains to be seen if Sinn Fein can pull this off. So if you go to the community section of this YouTube channel, I already posted a list of the independents and like a little one-sentence blurb about each one. Some of them I couldn't really even find that much information. What I did find out is that most of these independents are either incumbent members of the assembly or they're former members of the assembly, and most of them are ex-members of either Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, or Sinn Fein. Now, there was one woman who's a brand new person that ran on a campaign of stopping immigration, and that was Verona Murphy. There's 2 other incumbents who were reelected as independents that are attacked in the media for their stance on immigration. There's two more who are brothers. Their last name is Healy Ray, and I couldn't find much information on them, but they seem to definitely be right of center candidates. Then you have a lot of candidates that are big right to life people. So there's two that are ex-Sinn Fein people who quit Sinn Fein over the issue of abortion. And then there's one ex-Fianna Fáil incumbent who quit that party over abortion. And then there's some other candidates who are ex-members of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael who quit for a variety of reasons, but all of them seem to be right-to-life candidates. So there's a significant chunk of the independents who are right to life is either their biggest thing or one of their things at least. And then there's just there's one woman that the only thing I could really find out about her is she's an advocate of the Irish language. There's another guy who basically runs as an advocate of farmers, although he is run afoul of the Green Party and the hardcore climate people because they want the Irish people to eat less meat, and they want to force them to eat less meat by reducing livestock. And then there's a few leftists who are definitely hardcore leftists. So it spans the whole spectrum. I remain skeptical that Sinn Fein will be able to put together 80 members of the assembly to form a ruling coalition. I could be wrong. They'll have the media on their side, and so the media might influence some of these independents. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, the campaign that Sinn Fein ran is somewhat unconventional for a left-wing party. So, for example, in America, we have the Democrats who run on free stuff and the Republicans who run on low taxes. And the Democrats have never seen a tax cut that they liked. In fact, right now, the Democrats are campaigning nationally on repealing the tax cuts that Donald Trump just made. Well, Sinn Fein, in their national campaign, campaigned on free stuff and tax cuts. Now, they have a 110-page manifesto, and when you get to the end of the manifesto, it's a whole different story. But the talking points that were distributed in their main literature was nothing but free stuff and tax cuts. And in fact, they even denounced the carbon taxes. Sinn Fein said that the carbon taxes were a scam. So besides the 110-page manifesto that probably hardly anyone has ever read, they had a 6-part smaller platform that was widely distributed for the election. And so one of those points is to bring about an Irish reunification referendum. So that's a big thing for Sinn Fein, and that's a whole different side topic, really. And then the next point is to have the largest public housing program in Irish history. So part of the reason that this election was held early is because there was an attempt to remove the Minister of Housing last December. And it failed, but it came very close. And it kind of destabilized the whole government. So they want to pump $6.5 billion into housing and build 100,000 new homes over the next 5 years that will be different kinds of subsidizing. Of course, what they don't want to talk about is immigration. There's numerous documentaries now showing that a big part of the housing crisis is because of non-European immigrants coming in seeking asylum. And Sinn Fein, in their 110-page manifesto, fully supports the asylum process and says it's, their duty under international treaties to take these people in. And then they want to come to the rescue of renters and new home buyers. They want to put a cap on how much interest the banks can charge. And they want to give renters a big tax rebate equal to 1 month of rent per year, up to 1,500 euro. So this is the first of one of several tax breaks that they're claiming that they're going to give to people. They also want to halt the planned increase in the retirement age. So it's going to increase to 67. They want to bring it back down to 65. And then they say that they're going to subsidize childcare. They're going to save every family an average of 500 euro per child per month. And on top of that, they're going to give higher wages and better working conditions to childcare staff. They're going to extend paid maternity leave and increase maternity benefits. They're going to increase the federal police by 2,000 officers and 2,000 support staff. Then they're going to have a huge income tax break. So Ireland has something called universal service charge, which I think is similar to what we call Social Security and Medicaid in the United States. I might be wrong, but there's something about it. It kicks in after the first $13,000 of income. Well, they say that they're going to increase that from 13,000 to 30,000. And so if you make 30,000 or more a year, the amount of taxes you'll pay on your income will go down by 700 euro. And they say they're going to abolish personal property tax, saving each person an average of 250 euro per year. And then for point 6, they say they're not going to borrow any money. In fact, they're going to run a surplus. Such a big surplus that after 5 years, there'll be so much money left over that they're going to give everyone another big tax break, saving each worker another 700 euro each year. And after I read that, I thought, hey, why not just promise everyone their own personal leprechaun too? Now, they claim in the literature they were giving out that other third-party sources have verified that their plan really will pay for itself and generate a surplus. Well, on page 110 of their 110-page manifesto, they surprisingly actually lay out figures. And they say we're going to reduce taxes by 2.4 billion euro a year. And then the next part is we're going to raise taxes by 3.8 billion a year. But all the new taxes are just for the people who really deserve it. So the evil banks, the evil landlords, the evil employers, the rich people, they're not going to be taxed. And that's not going to affect the workers and the families. The workers and the families are only going to be affected by the tax breaks. And so the Sinn Fein manifesto is actually calling for big tax increases overall, but with the fantasy view that their tax increases somehow won't affect the little guy, that it's not going to trickle down to the little guy. But the main small platform that was distributed for the election was all rainbows and pots of gold, free stuff and tax breaks. And so that's how Sinn Fein played it, and it paid off. They came in first place. Now, ultimately, the rhetoric of Sinn Fein reminds me very much of the Scottish National Party. It is also a fake national party, which is just a globalist socialist party. And I've said repeatedly that I support Scottish independence in part because I believe that it would turn out very badly for the SNP. That if Scottish was granted independence under SNP rule, it would be a total disaster, and eventually the SNP would collapse, and then maybe finally Scotland could start building a real nationalist movement. And so Maybe if Sinn Fein does gain control of Ireland, it'll be such a disaster that a real nationalist movement could grow out of the ashes. All right, thanks for watching this video. Click the like button, post a comment below, tell me what you think about this. And please support my sponsor, Patriotic Flags, the online flag store, patriotic-flags.com. And click the subscribe button. New video every few days.